Look at the papers and look away from boxes. The leadership newspaper here leads with killings. DHQ tackles terrorism, financing, seeks support. The writer says effective synergy will crush terrorists. Bandits kill 12 in Bauchi. Niger's Governor Bala blows hot. 1,700 killed in boundary communal clashes, and that's on page 4 of the leadership newspaper. All right, away from that, above that story, we have CGN warns judges against judicial abuses. And looking at some other stories beside the picture story this morning, we have 133 cardinals to vote in Rome conclave. That's according to the Vatican. And details can be found on page 7 of the leadership. Below that, FGO pays over 750 billion naira for road projects nationwide. NACON advanced team departs for Hajj. That's also on page 7 of the leadership. Above the masthead this morning, we have 75% of UTME candidates scored below 200. That's according to JAMB. And next to that, kidnappers, not Islamists, chopped off my hand. That's credited to a victim. You want to see what that's about? A copy of the leadership would do you good. All right, let's look away from the leadership newspaper now and see what the Daily Times is offering this morning. The Daily Times leads with something completely different. It says PTAD blames CBN for delayed payment of retirees' pensions. That's on page 2. Above the masthead, Zulum shuts down all IDP camps over illicit activities, resettles 6,000 families. And of course, the JAMB story is also right here, but this caption is different. It says, JAMB reveals 2025 UTME shocking details. And that's on page 7 of the Daily Times. Below the picture story, we have Nigerian government plans digital exams by 2027. Upgrades 38 technical colleges, and that's credited to the Minister of Education, Lausa. UK announces new premium visa application centers in Nigeria. Details on page 6. And next to that, we have Nigeria Security and Political Economy report. It's a continuation. That's also right here. Finally, in a red strip on the front page of the Daily Times this morning, we have many feared killed as bandits ambush vigilantes in Bauchi community. Not a good one. But that's on page 10 of the Daily Times. Claire?
Okay, let's take a look at this day newspaper. And the only story that Henry has not read, I believe, is the lead story for this day. Nigeria First Policy. FG bans foreign goods that can be produced locally. MDAs stopped from procuring foreign goods or services. Sorry? Okay, this Nigeria, I beg your pardon, not this day. Thank you for pointing that out. MDAs stopped from procuring foreign goods or services already available locally, and FEC says measure will promote homegrown products. And also just on the front page there, Nigeria targets electricity for 300 million Africans by 2030, says Speaker Abbas. And Senate to reconcile river stakeholders. Past tax bills, says majority leader. That story is on page 5. And just side by side, the nameplate you find World Bank to federal government. Inflation hits poor hard, act fast. And you can read up the details on page 5. I think those are the stories that Yenre didn't have on her 2 papers. So. Chukwudi.
You've got a discerning mind. You took the ones you already didn't have. I hate repetition. FG bans foreign goods that can be produced locally. There are certain things that are recurring in media work, on and on. I can't remember how many times I've heard this. That's good. As a policy move, it is very good. What needs now to be done is ensure that even the local production of those things get encouraged in terms of environmental production, in terms of financing, the entire, works of it. So it's a good thing. But let us also make sure that the local producers are not steadily stifled into stagnation. That, I think, is very important.
Listen, let me just give you a hint. The minister cited Nigeria's sugar industry as an example of local capacity being neglected. He said, we continue to import sugar despite the existence of Nigeria Sugar Council and several local producers. This policy will change that. Where foreign contracts are unavoidable, they must include provisions for technology transfer, local production or capacity development in the country. Okay, sugar is one item that I've seen here. There are others. Local manufacturers are also, some local manufacturers who produce,
Yes.
Value chain tomatoes, also saying, look, we need to also do something about, the imported tomato puree we have in the country.
You know, the case of tomato beats my imagination. I was at the market 2 days ago, and the small container they had there, not the basket, the one that Conscience to say that dustbin basket, that's not the one I'm talking about. That's just those small.
Yes, the smaller bowls.
Yes.
They call them the mudu bowls.
They said it was 800, and I said, there they go again. Onions are coming down a bit. It seems as if these very vital household consumer items take their turns to give us uppercut and street rights and all that. So the point you want to make is, can't we have a steady churning out of these things? Milk has remained the same in terms of price in the U.S. almost for the past 20 years. That's it. You buy it in that 4-liter tin. It was I think 6. What is it now? What's the U.S. currency? The list. It was 6. Whatever the currency is. It's only the dollar people remember. The
Pence.
Pence.
The pence? No, US.
Penny.
It's not pence. The US is not pence. It's okay. Okay, it's okay. So it was that, and the reason it keeps coming, staying at that price is a subsidy and encouragement to farmers to keep up doing that. You need to make it steady. Very important. So I think that should be said. 70%.
Sorry, the issue with perishables, like you mentioned, pepper, onions and tomatoes, I think it's gone beyond being a seasonal thing. Because, like you rightly said, that the small dustbin basket of pepper, you know how much it is now?
It is.
It's double digits.
I agree with you. And it's those vacillations that scare me. It doesn't tell you that you have a well-funded, well-managed production base for those things. So the vagaries would continue, the up and down movement and all that. What helps Nyere's salary is when she knows that the tomato she bought in April will still be within range of her pocket by August. You can then project, you can even say, this is how much I can save. But when these things don't happen, you are really in trouble.
Chukwudi, I wish I could allow you to take more reviews. Launching us into our first conversation this morning, which is the migration of both NECO and WAEC to computer-based test for its exams. And that's an initiative that has been widely commended, of course, and also applauded by both teachers and parents. But of course, it doesn't come easy just like that. There are, of course, hurdles to cross. And that's why we've invited those who should explain to us and, of course, interrogate the issues here in the studio to give us their different perspectives. So let me quickly begin to introduce Professor Dantani Ibrahim Ushishi, who's the Registrar, Chief Executive Officer of National Examination Council, NECO. It's a pleasure to have you with us, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
Also here with us in Abuja, we're being joined by I was tempted to call him the Almighty WAEC. Dr. Amos Josiah Dangote is head of National Office, WAEC. Welcome.
Thank you
Please don't mark
very
my
much.
English.
I feel good to be here. Good morning once
Thank
again.
you. Thank you.
All right. Also joining us for the conversation right here in the studio is Haniel Hamisu Jafaru. He's a cybersecurity and AI expert, also the convener, Tech Symposium Africa, Executive Director, HTC Academy. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Get him.
All right. You want me to set exams for the exam body? So I'm just thinking, where will I start from?
On the hot seat.
No, but it actually feels good, as in having to do this. I mean, years back, it was me scared. I'm going to write exams. Now I have WAEC in front of me, and I have to ask you questions.
An opportunity to hit back.
Oh, well. Oh, well, they were fair to me those days, so maybe I should be fair this morning. Many thanks once again for joining. Many thanks for joining us. But first, I'd like you to tell us about this new initiative. For someone who's hearing about this for the first time, what does this really mean? WAEC transitioning to CBT, does it mean that they're going to change the pattern of the exams? I mean, in those days it was, you had to do practicals, you had to do objective theory and all of this required you to write and all. This new initiative, what does it mean for this examination?
Thank you so much. Computer-based test or computer-based examination. These are examinations that are done via computer. It's as much as possible ensures that standards of the examinations are raised, and it makes it easy for candidates to have their results as fast as possible. So it does not involve pen and paper. And it has a lot of advantages, one of which is that it reduces examination malpractice. Yes.
So I hear WAEC has already started, initial implementation. It has started experimenting with private schools. And now the November exam, I hope I'm correct, WAEC, has NECO started as well?
NECO has not started, but will start this year, where we have a 3-year strategic plan for NECO examinations, and CBT is one of the strategic plan for us to implement, because you don't just start implementing CBT. You have to think of a lot of provisions for infrastructures that will enable you effectively implement the CBT, having known that we are a federal government agency and education is in concurrent list. The states have also some roles to play. So as an examination body, there are certain solutions that will enable us to efficiently and effectively administer CBT or CBE, which we must make provisions for, which at our own end, we are doing our best to make sure that we make such provisions and ready to implement this
Like
CBT.
what are the provisions? Because JAM is already latching onto available CBT infrastructure.
Yes.
Yes. Isn't that, are they not also available to NECO?
No, they are not available to NECO because the nature of JAM examination is quite different from the nature of what NECO and WAEC examinations.
No, but WAEC is utilizing that.
Yes, WAEC is utilizing that at a pilot level. The same thing we are utilizing, we are going to utilize that by November, December. November, December examination is not school-based, it's center-based examination. So candidate selects centers to write this examination for remediation of their results. So it's easy for us to utilize some of this already existing center after due scrutiny of the centers, because we don't say because WAEC has used the center, we use the center as it is for WAEC, because there are certain things which are also coded, which we also have to use our own solution to
NECO solution.
yes, to use,
okay.
not using WAEC JAM directly. So for this, we also have to prepare, scrutinize the centers, select the centers we are going to use, advertise them for students to pick these centers, because they are not school-based. It makes us easy to do that. So we are going to utilize that by November, December. We are still going to start our basic education certificate examination. We are also going to pilot test the CBE using this examination that will start very soon. I think by 31st of this month. So we are ready for that as far as this year is concerned.
Many thanks, Professor Wushishi. I'd like to get to WAEC now, Dr. Dangote. Since you've already, tried your hands on this, what I want to understand is, does it change the pattern of this examination? Because I'm wondering how you want to use computer test for a course, for example, say physics, chemistry that has practicals. And then, of course, we know that in the past, I don't know if you intend to change it. There's theory, there's objective. So for the theory, would it also be computer-based? How would that be done? That's what I want to understand. Or is it that the whole pattern of the examination is going to be changed completely to objective? Because that's what JAM is about, and that's why it's easy for them to use the CBT. So please help us understand that.
Thank you very much. Let me clarify the conduct of the examination when we say CBE. That is why we call it CBE. It's not CBT. It's not the test, it's an examination, because it involves a lot more. The performance test, the essay assessment, they are all there. So what we do right now is a hybrid mode of computer-based examination. Hybrid in the sense that the objective answer questions are projected on the computer and the responses are imputed on the computer also. But for the AC, the practical and the performance test papers, the questions are beamed on the screen, and then candidates now input their responses on provided answer booklets. Now, the problem comes in when you are going to assess performance, as in music and physical education. How do you go into the virtual space and do that? So what we do at the moment is that the questions are also projected on the screen. The candidates now do their test. If it is practical, they go to the table, do the practical on the table, and then come and write their responses on the answer booklet. The same with the test of performance. However, we are reaching a very advanced stage of preparedness. And let me point out at this time that I want to give kudos to my own staff, because all these concepts, whatever we have been doing in CBE, is 100% in-house. So that is something I salute the staff of the West African Examinations Council. So what we are looking at in the very near future is a situation whereby the candidates' responses for the AC particularly are made on tablets, such that the responses are captured as images and recorded automatically, and we also mark it on screen, because right now we have the e-marker project. We mark some scripts on the screen. And I also want to let us know, to our joy and the anticipation of the public, that the assessment, the essay assessment, will in the future also be done computer-based. AI is going to be deployed in marking of essay, and I hear people being too skeptical, too afraid of that. But having seen what is in it, it's the right way to go because of the obvious advantages that will go into that. I hope I have given you.
I have two questions to ask you on the issue of hybrid.
Okay.
Hybrid. First, that's CBT and pen and paper simultaneously.
Yeah.
In terms of time, usually, I mean, you know, within which students receive the results, is that not going to be impacted? And then, would it not attract increased costs to WAEC, since, of course, the logistics for both, you know, methods are quite different?
You see, when you are talking of PAP, that's what I refer to, pen and paper. There are lots of disadvantages there, the cost, the time, the risk, which is quite different from the risk in the CBE mode. But you will also find that, yes, the CBE has some challenges, has some things associated to it, but by and large, it is still the better way to go. Now, we have conducted some examinations purely on the CBE mode, the private candidate examination in January 2024 and January 2025. We also did in the private candidate second series in November and December. Now, what is peculiar about that of the November-December is that we allowed candidates to choose. Those that want to sit the computer-based examination, they sat for it. Those that were not ready for that, they sat for the pen and paper examination. So we had them going at the same time in November, December 2024.
Okay. Many thanks, Dr. Dangote. I'd like to get to Haniel now. You know, listening to all of this, it's looking fantastic, beautiful. But I'm thinking, are we ready for this? Because, you know, WAEC and ECO are completely different from JAMB. JAMB, just 50 questions, 3-4 courses. I mean, that's an average of 200 questions and all. And, I mean, you're done with your paper one day, you know. So if you have to write JAMB, one day you're done with all the exams. But for WAEC and ECO, you have to write like 7 courses, 8, thereabouts. Subjects, different subjects. And then we know that registration for WAEC is more. WAEC and ECO is more. I mean, the average student, whether in the village or whatever, just want to have a WAEC certificate. Unlike JAMB, not everybody wants to progress. And again, we know the challenges with JAMB, so not everybody is, you know, enrolling at the same time. But for WAEC, it's, I mean, it's quite huge. Do you think that all of this, you know, would, I don't know, do you think it's possible?
Possibility, yes, it is. I think it's possible. And with the strategy that they have deployed, from what I've heard, that they are running an hybrid model, which means running both the PAP and also the CBE concurrently. Yes, that's achievable. Now, looking at the CBE specifically, there are infrastructural gaps which we would not shy away from. One of it is the fact that we have schools within the rural areas that may not even have seen a computer before. We have schools within the rural area that don't even have power to power these systems. We have schools within the rural area that don't have internet connectivity. Some of them, these are the infrastructure that is needed, or that are needed for the implementation of this project, if we want to look at it holistically. So these are gaps that needs to be covered. These are gaps that needs to be addressed. If we want to implement this kind of project in states like Lagos, that has very high broadband and internet penetration rate, that has, to a large extent, good power supply, and whose schools, we can say at least above 80% of schools would have, may have seen a computer before. So we would say that, yes, it's a good to go in states like Lagos, but we can't compare the implementation of this project in Lagos to states like Borno, who has insecurity issues, or Zamfara, where students may not even have had the opportunity to see a system, talk more of using it for exams. So the possibility of implementing this project is good. It's not something that we will have to run away from. We either implement it now or we implement it later. But the bottom line is that this is the future of exams. Globally, it's something that is being adopted as a form of assessment. And one advantage of this is that it's taking us back to the original form of assessment. Or assessment largely started as long as the word began, and the first form of assessment was using oral and observation, which is what we're doing. The interview that the questions you're asking is a form of assessment, trying to assess how they've been. So that has been the first stage. Looking at history now, first stage of assessment. But we grew to pen and paper, where we began to write things down. We began to conduct exams, and that even initiated in China. And now the difference is that the first form of assessment largely assess what you know, but the pen and paper form of assessment is largely able to assess what you read and not what you know. So people go to exams for the purpose of writing what they have read and not what they have studied or what they have been able to integrate within them. So this form of assessment, which is the next form, is with CBE and CBT, is taking us back to the stage where we are being assessed based on what we know, because the exams will be dynamic. The questions you are asking candidate A will be different from the question you're asking candidate B, and the questions can be changed. Let's say you're asking, did Amaka go to school today, to candidate A. That Amaka as a name can change when he's asking the candidate B. Probably did Jude go to school today. So dynamism.
Our children are smarter. They are smarter today. I mean, I'm sure you know that already. But I mean, there's no going back. I mean, the federal government has instructed the two bodies, to implement. WAEC has already initiated, taking the first leg in, and NECO will start, follow suit. But my concern will be the implication on the students and the school calendar. Do you think that WAEC or NECO might be able to, synchronize the infrastructure without delaying the timelines? I'm sure you know what I mean. The school WAEC exam timelines, or even the operational cost for it.
Operational cost is going to be high when it has to do with conducting the exams, because not from their perspective, more from the schools, because specifically for the internal exams. The external exams, I don't think there are much issues there. All that is needed would be the CBT centers that would enroll. I believe that's the strategy they're using. CBT centers.
Yes, because sorry, yeah. Why I asked, because they're leveraging the centers already available for JAM, which is close to about 800 thereabout. WAEC is administering twice the number of candidates. So the infrastructure required will be large.
Yeah, it's also an opportunity for business to strive, because it invariably means that it's an opportunity for entrepreneurs to look at that as a problem and begin to look at how to solve that problems. So we should begin to encourage more entrepreneurs to go into the area of CBT, and that's happening globally, and that's one. Secondly, there are also international-based CBT centers that are already local. We can also adopt some of them, but particularly I'm more concerned about the internal exams, because the internal exams, like I said, a whole lot of schools have not been able to. They may not even have the finance to be able to fund the infrastructure needed for them to conduct exams. That is CBE based. It will require them having to get a whole lot of computers, because it's not going to be the responsibility of WAEC or NECO to get the computers for them. So how many computers are you getting? Are you acquiring? From when I graduated, then we were over 300 that sat for internal exams. So does it not mean that you would need that numbers of computer systems, and getting a computer system that would be able to do the kind of work that this exams required, it's going to be quite expensive. So
What about the expense on the students and parents? Because, of course, they will have to pay, as usual, for WAEC fees. And you and I know what, the talk about, fees, meeting up these fees, is at the moment. Now, with added, computer facilities and all that, what's the burden? What do you think the burden will be like? Is it something that will be manageable, or is it something that is sustainable?
Okay, so for internet exams, I think it's something that's sustainable. They are in the school, they are within the school premises, they go to school every day, so they really don't need to pay that. The expense may just be in the cost of registering for the exams.
But remember, it's center-based, not school-based.
Yeah, I'm talking, that's what I say, for the internet exams.
Yeah.
Because the internet exams, the centers, the schools becomes the center.
Is that what it is?
There is a shift in that sense,
Uh-huh.
such that we are planning, all the examining bodies are planning to shift from school-based exam to center-based exam. But let me point out that in this ongoing school candidate examination, for WAEC exam, some schools are running the computer-based exam right now. It's just a selected number of schools. But from next year, all the objectives, all will be online. And so what is in place is that the schools that have the facilities will sit the exam in their schools, while those that do not have will be pulled to common centers.
Have you factored those who live in rural areas in all of this plan? Because
yes, that is the federal government's directive.
I'm just asking a question.
Right.
If you have to move, if say someone in my village where there's no computer-based test, and then you have to move to another village or maybe move to the city, right, to go write these exams, have you factored, issues of logistics for these students, accommodation? I mean, it's not a one-day exam, all right? So you may be writing maths today and English tomorrow. Are you going to be moving, all of this? I mean, how do you think this would encourage people to continue to go to school? I mean, for those in the rural areas, because how would they bear the cost? Being able to move from where they are to where they have to write these exams, accommodation, I mean, all the different issues that they will have to deal with in that new place where they have to write these exams because of the CBT center.
Okay, by way of information, we believe that CBE will cut the duration of the examination. So it's expected that it will not last about the 8 weeks that we normally take. So if it goes for approximately half the period, that is one aspect. Then secondly, the government is looking into how to mitigate these issues, these challenges that you have raised about bringing the candidates to a common center, because there has to be a mapping of schools within some geographical areas for ease of assessment. I'm sure it will take care of the logistics, the cost, and whatsoever is there. Don't forget that the system already operates, because these students that take the JAM exam, which you mentioned, they come from all over and the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. So, but like I said, the government is also looking into that direction, and so we are working together with the government to overcome this challenge of students from.
All right, let's bring Prof into our conversation. What's it for you? Are you also experimenting with hybrid? And if so, I'm just wondering how, running through different assessment formats would impact on the students' experience and, of course, invariably their performance.
Yes, because the nature of our examinations...
Because some students will probably prefer one to the other, and then you have the issue of inequality to deal with.
Yeah, it's true. The nature of our examinations, NECO and WAEC, is virtually the same, which is different from JAM. So the approach we are taking, there is no much
so you're also applying the hybrid system?
Of course, we are applying the hybrid system, having known the nature of the Nigerian environment. Here has just enumerated some challenges of power, some challenges of provision of infrastructure in rural areas, internet provision in rural areas. And it's not even about internet issue. we can conduct examinations even where there is no internet. We can do that. But the fact is, of course, having known the nature of our society, in the north, for example, there are difficult terrains. In the southeast, there are also difficult terrains. In the south and the southwest, there are all difficult terrains where some of these challenges, exist. And that is why it requires strategic planning. And that is why the federal government too is into this, looking at some of these challenges where federal government will come in and where also state government will also come in. And it is an issue that, for example, the internal examination, which is school-based, and the federal government is looking at the possibility of making it center-based. Education is in concurrent list. The states also have to also key in, because if they also needed to provide infrastructure for public schools, for example. And if that is going to be implementation of the policy on the basis of center, states also have to be involved and agree on the policy and map out the mode upon which such things will be done, and the stages of implementation of this, because it cannot be done holistically at the same time. For example, we have close to 26,000 centers, and I think WAEC also have the same thing throughout the nation. So you look at provision of IT infrastructures in 26,000 centers, for example. It is going to be massive. There is going to be massive deployment of infrastructure, which will involve massive spending of funds. So it's going to be a stage-by-stage implementation.
What would all of this cost the student? That's what I want to know. Is the cost, does it remain constant, or does it? I mean, is it marginal increase? You will answer as well as WAEC, please. We have some messages coming in from our SMS, and please, once again, the number you can send your SMS is 081-696-88126. Just SMS. I have this one from Edet Sevenos from Akwa Ibom State. And he says the CBT initiative is a good idea for Nigerian students. His question is, what about rural areas that have no internet connectivity? And most of those rural schools have over 250 to 300 candidates. Precisely the same question that Henry asked earlier on. So who's taking it?
Okay. Let me take the issue of cost, for example. I don't think there is going to be increase in the cost of registration for the examination on the side of candidates and parents.
Okay.
I think
no inbuilt into the NECO registration form.
We are even envisaging that with time, when the implementation stabilizes, the cost will reduce, because once provision of infrastructures have been made, there are only technical issues to address. And this will reduce the cost of production of question papers, will reduce the cost of production of answer script, will reduce the cost of some other logistics that has to do with vehicles, purchase vehicles maintenance, and other non-sensitive examination materials that goes with SPAP. So by the time the system stabilizes, there will be reduced costs.
Hopefully.
There will be reduced costs. So we envisage that with time, when there is stability, the cost of the registration will also equally reduce.
If it reduces costs, what happens to your examiners? It looks like you're going to lay some off. Since this is going to be...
of course, examiners that are not IT compliant, that will not have the capacity or the ability to mark on screen or tablet, will not be deployed, or will not be their services will not be required for this. Those that are analog can only mark on pen and paper. once it is phased out, only those that are IT compliant will be able to participate in.
Okay, with this CBE, I'm just thinking, would it affect the curriculum in any way?
CBE, it should affect the curriculum because you know, you will need a form of computer literacy. Although many studies have been carried out, including one I conducted, I believe, from also the part of the country you come from, shows that there is computer literacy skills. But you still need to be training and retraining the young ones as they come up. So it should be there, because I understand that there are some agitations from other quotas to remove courses from the curriculum, courses like computer science, computer studies. See if the emphasis should be de-emphasized on these ones. So you see, if we are going into this, it means that we should strengthen it rather than de-emphasize the study of computer science and computer studies, data sciences in the secondary curriculum.
Okay, so now if this this will lead to adjustments in the curriculum, who takes care of retraining the teachers? Because I mean, the teachers just need to be up to speed with all of this new development. So what happens if they don't? I mean, if they don't have the required skills to pass on to the students, what happens in all of this development?
You see, when we talk of training, it comes in very many forms and from all stakeholders. The schools can do that, the government can do that, the examining bodies can do that. WAEC on its own, we have very many sessions and times where we train people. For example, the computer-based examination we are running in some schools, like I told you, we have trained supervisors. We have also trained, and we keep training them to do e-marking. So like the JAM, NECO registrar said, people who are not ready to imbibe computer or the computer ideals, they will have no place in the emerging scenario. So the way out is for all stakeholders to offer seminars, workshops, to upskill teachers. And it also means that the teachers and other stakeholders at that level should also have an open mind and be ready to accept, because some of these are my age mates in the school system. They are scary of the computer. So
but the Teachers Council of Nigeria, really, it's doing a lot to sensitize, teachers. And I think being computer literate is one of the requirements now for even upgrades. So, but again, there are issues here and there that you will probably need to address as we go along the way. I don't think everybody that is sending their SMS is applauding the initiative, but of course mentioning some hurdles that will need to be addressed. I have another one from Ahmad. Ahmad, you have not told us where you are sending your message from. Please, if you're sending in your SMS, let us know where you're watching Good Morning Nigeria from. That will do us a whole lot of, give us the pride that we are serving you. Ahmed says, which date are we going to start our own NECO exam? That's for Prof.
Dates?
Yes.
NECO exams?
Yes.
Which of the NECO exams? We have
it's
five.
NECO CBE exams.
CBE exams. We, just like I explained, we will start pilot testing this year with our basic examination certificate exams. And by November, December, we will embark on CBE using the private November, December.
All right, Haniel, thank you very much, Waik. I'd like to get to Haniel. I asked a question. Sorry, NECO, I mixed that up. I'd like to get to you, Haniel. Earlier I asked if this would encourage people to go to school. There's a reason for that. I'm thinking that for those in disadvantaged communities, where they don't have enough teachers to start with, the facilities for teaching at the moment inadequate. Now we're upgrading to, computer skills and all. I'm just saying that, for those communities, would this encourage them really? okay, imagine this pilot phase starts, say, next year, for example, or this year, and someone from the village goes to the city to go write these exams and doesn't find it easy and doesn't do well, and returns back to the village to tell his story of how, you know, they brought one machine in front of him, he doesn't know where to click, and the result was poor. And I mean, would this encourage other people who are in that community to want to venture into this? Wouldn't they just think, oh, well, this is an elite thing? I mean, for those in the city, and for those of us here, maybe we should just continue with farm work. How does this, you know, help those in disadvantaged communities?
Okay, so that they're in disadvantaged community doesn't mean that they don't have access to smartphones. Most of all these people in rural area, they have access to smartphones, so they are already conversant with some of this technology. I'm just concerned about the fact that in the education system itself, we've not, as I rightly said, I think we need to begin to prioritize digital literacy and ensure. In fact, we need. I would even suggest that we make it the third. After maths and English, digital literacy should be the third most important subject, and the reason is because learning is now being digitized. Exams now are now being digitized. Working would also be digitized. So the earlier we begin to prioritize digital literacy in schools, the better it would be for us as a country and also for the students. So if that is prioritized and students are now being taught digital skills and digital literacy in schools, that won't be an issue.
Do you teach digital literacy on paper?
Okay, so when it has to do with digital literacy, I don't think that it should be on paper. I think we should do digital literacy with a system. It would just mean that we would need to empower the teachers with that knowledge so that they can in turn transfer that knowledge to the students, and also ensure that the infrastructural gap is closed, because if we integrate that subject in schools and we prioritize it, and the students the teachers don't have the infrastructure to teach the students, or the environment is not enabling for them to be able to teach the students, it would be as though that we are going back to, we are not advancing. And more importantly, we should also take note of the fact that globally, exams, we've not advanced to the stage whereby we eliminate paper exams. So it is still, even in the US and the UK, it is still, even the TOEFL and the IELTS, they are still paper-based. So while we are pushing for the CBE exams, that does not mean that we are eliminating the paper-based exams. So I still think at this point in time, they should still run concurrently for students to acclimatize themselves with the digital exams before it's completed.
Before it's a seamless and gradual, migration. Haniel, I'd like you to talk to us about a very important aspect that has raised concern, and that is about the security, because the whole initiative is geared at certain things, and one of them is to generate data to be able to address some, exam malpractices, and of course to calculate performance and all that. Now, WAEC says it's data, or the data that it will generate, will not be saved in the clouds and all that. I mean, talk to us about that, and then how safe, if eventually that NECO WAEC, begins to save its data, out there in the clouds, and of course it's exposed to the hackers and all the problem.
Okay, so let's start from the fact that the concept that it's not saved in the cloud. Now, there is what's called private cloud and there is public cloud. Okay. So the public cloud is the one that has that connection to internet, and the public can have access to. Then there is a private cloud. So as long as it is stored in a digital device, it is in the cyberspace, and it being in the cyberspace, we can eliminate the possibility of intrusion or threat from it. So we can't shy away from that truth. It's a very necessary aspect that needs to be discussed. So the security aspect. They say data is life. and these exams questions are data. The students
Bio.
in bio their data, and all these things they're going to be in a digital format. And it being in a digital format would mean that while you are trying to eliminate the physical form of security, you are now this initiative is now bringing us to look at the digital form of security, because this data, once this data is captured by one person, everybody has it because it is in the cyberspace. So we can't exempt ourselves from the fact that WAEC and NECO will not become targets. Before now, people or cyber attackers or cyber criminals would not beam their light on them because they are doing paper-based exams. But now that they are going digital, the criminal enterprise will begin to look at the possibility of attacking them. And students, sadly, would encourage this thing because one, they know that, okay, these systems can be hacked. It's going to be in a system. It's going to be in a storage device. Once the systems are hacked, these students can pay for, there are a whole lot of activities that is happening in the dark web, and students can pay for hackers to hack the systems, retrieve the exams, and and they have the questions. And this is not far-fetched from what's happening globally. So we have to look at the internet security. There have to be a robust digital security cyber architecture that would safeguard the data, that would safeguard not even the data. There's also what's known as the insider threat, where staff that are expected to set up these exams in a local environment, the localized exams can also be paid off, and they will release some of these questions too. And it's not as though that these questions are being tracked. So that I give a copy to you, a copy of the questions to a person does not mean that you would know that I've given it to somebody, because it's probably saved in a system, and all I did was to copy. So these are some of the things that needs to be addressed, and we have to prioritize it.
All right, many thanks. I'm sure that Dr. and Prof would respond to some of the comments that you have made, but let's quickly look at the messages.
Let me just make an introduction and allow him to take over from where I stopped. Basically, we, the examination body, our data are classified security-wise, sensitive and non-sensitive data. And for the sensitive data, there are also classification of this data and how to handle them before examination, during examination, after examination.
Why do you still have exam leaks, paper leaks?
Paper leaks?
Exam leaks. Do you have questions?
Of course, when you have paper leaks, you understand that there are also other factors. There are also other environmental factors which examination bodies are also doing their best to make sure that all these are minimized. We know we are aware of a phishing site, for example. Majority of the phishing sites, as they operate now, you find that they post their question papers some minutes or some hours after the examination because they do not have access to it. And we are prosecuting them. We are going after them.
Okay.
So that is that. And during examination, there are ways and manners we handle our examination data. We're using so many different types of IT equipment that will not give access to the public for even hackers to try.
Okay, I hope so. But let's quickly take your response before we read out the SMS messages.
Thank you very much. I want us to note that examination malpractice is a crime in Nigeria today, and there is a good law procedure for those who infringe on it. So what we have done, we have collaborated. Even in this ongoing examination, with the relevant security agencies. We have a mechanism that will also trace the source of people that are trying to infiltrate our system. But most importantly, like the registrar said, our system, our space is secured. I'm not going to elaborate much here because those listening, you know, they say the thief will always be looking for how to beat the system. But you will never find our questions online. You will never. They are not on the computer.
Hey, sorry, gentlemen, just hold on. Please, let's quickly read out this. Please, you will get your slot to speak. We've got, SMS messages coming. This one is from Gloria from Abakaleke. She says, CBT initiative for both WAEC and NECO is a welcome development. At least it will help to reduce exam malpractice. Students are no longer serious with their studies. But in doing this, she says, both teachers and students need to be trained. That's Gloria from Abakaleke. I have Sadiq. Once again, we are setting the cart before the horse. How many government-owned schools have a desktop? Not to talk about electricity. Please, I will suggest we face reality and do on-the-ground assessment and not work from the office for assignment. Let's not kill education. That's Sadiq. Quickly, I have two more before Henry takes us. The CBE is a noble idea. Let us embrace it, though there will be challenges, but it can't be overcome. B. Olalemi Mowe from Ogun State. And the last one, again, is from Pastor Victor, also from this is from Ondo State. He says, this initiative of NECO WAEC CBE is good. Please note, it's not CBT, it's CBE. It's good, but should be well planned before implementation, because Nigeria is not just a state, but a big country.
All right, just in case you want to send in your comments and questions, the number remains 0816-968-8126. Small messages I have here. This one says, good morning. I am Abbas Abubakar Saad from Jalingo, Taraba State. The NECO WAEC CBE initiative is a welcome development as it will ensure exams run smoothly. However, my concern is that there are insufficient teachers with adequate computer skills to effectively conduct CBE exams in some schools. What steps will be taken to address this issue? The next one says, my advice is that transformation to CBE should be gradual. We can't commence implementation in all parts of the country at the same time. It requires huge investment in infrastructure, which we don't have now and may not have in a year or two. Good idea, though. That's coming from Abdul Fattah from Lagos. This one says, WAEC is not exclusive to Nigeria. Are other West African countries involved in CBE? At what level of compliance are they, if they are? That's coming from John, all the way from Lekki in Lagos. And just take one more so we can get your responses. This one says, I am Gilbert Oyama from Abuja. This is a wonderful initiative. The world is moving digital and Nigeria can't be an exception. I would suggest computer be made compulsory to pass as English and mathematics. This is the way forward to get it done as fast as possible. Thank you. All right.
All right. Haniel.
Okay, so I wanted to say that there are two categories of companies. You know, this is a philosophy from the cybersecurity industry. There are two categories of companies or organizations. We have the organizations that are falling victim to cyber attacks, and we have the organizations that will fall victim to cyber attacks. There is no room for organizations that will not, no matter how secured. The WAEC and NECO and exams body cannot be as secured as Microsoft. They can't be as secured as all the social media platforms. They can't even be as secured as Apple, that is considered to be the most secured tech company globally. But these organizations fall victim to cyber attack daily. And that you're secured does not mean, when you come and say that you're secure, the first thing you do, this is more of like me speaking as a cybersecurity professional and as one that tends to, we think like criminals because we try as much as possible to get them, yeah. So when when you say the
You
word
should
that
be arrested.
when
This
you say-
minute.
that's how police do. That's how they catch criminals. They have to think like
Yes,
them.
yes.
That's if you want to catch a criminal, you have to think like a criminal. So when you use the word that I am secure, what you do is that you try as much as you bring a whole lot of criminals to begin to look at your infrastructure to see how secured you are, because there are programs that are happening globally. One of it is bug bouncing program, and that program helps in ensuring that people intentionally attack system just to see how vulnerable you are. So yes, you're doing your best to be secured, but nobody is secured, not even cybersecurity professionals.
But away from all this, technical, hacking that you're talking about, I'm thinking that, the fact that these exams will be written in batches, looking at the number and the infrastructure available. Now, this exam is hybrid at the moment. So, is it not possible to just have a leak? I mean, the first batch goes in at 8 a.m. and the next batch is to come in at 12. Whatever it is the batch A has done, gets exposed to those in batch B. This is just normal because, or is there going to be a retweaking of the questions, or how is this really going to work since it is hybrid at the moment? It is, if it were to be computer wholly, you could, adjust numbers and all, and it may not be easy to, get the questions out. But you're still going to have to write on paper. So if there's a composition on your parents or a composition on your school in your exam, and you just get out and tell the next batch and that's it. So how do you want to solve all of these problems just so that the exams are as credible as possible?
Yes, thank you very much for this aspect. I want to take a cue from what the computer specialist said, so I won't be too detailed.
But don't be a criminal.
I won't be too detailed for the criminal to get me. So, in the first instance, I would want to say much about that, but the little I will say is that it is what is available that the rat will come after. If there's nothing on the table, will the rat find anything? So
They will snoop. The rat
there's
will
nothing
come
on the
snooping
table,
around.
so
to
it
see.
won't get
Will
anything.
not find anything.
Yes. So we are really, we have taken every step to ensure. In the first instance, when we are talking of having the essay paper being beamed on the screen and then its answers provided on paper, it's not going, at the initial stage, short and medium term, it's not going to be as you go in to do the objective, you find the essay. No, we are looking at a scenario where you have maybe 3 or 4 days and you are done with all your objective questions. And probably for the essay, you revert back to your schools to do your essay until we are able to have the tablets that as you are doing the objective, the essay is also going there. But that will also depend on the systems that are available. Because if you are exposing the essay along with the objective in the first set, for the second and afternoon set, many things could go wrong. Mm-hmm. So the federal government and the examining bodies are actually at the first instance looking at what will happen with the objective test. So once the objective tests are completely migrated onto the computer phase, then the other ones...
This is more burden for students that cram. Yeah. So, looking at some of the messages that we've got, I would like to go through some of them, and I would like to begin with the one that hits closer home. This one is very close to my village. It says, CB is a good idea, but they should also consider those in rural areas, because from my site here, people, before you see light, is once a week, and there's nothing like computer here. This is from Onwan West in Edo State. I said that's closer home because I'm from Onwan East. I'm from Onwan East, and I told you earlier that...
Was it coincident that it had to come to you?
I don't know. Anyway. Well, this other one here says, the 2 systems should run concurrently for the sake of those in rural areas who have no access to the new format. So that's coming from Teddy Adams from Lagos. And then we have this one that says, how can practicals in sciences be carried out in this CBE exams pattern? Nehemiah Atu from Jos is asking that. This one says the CBE is a good idea. The malpractice is too much, and this will help cut down on examination malpractice. This is long overdue. It will naturally have its teething period. Well done. Coming from Ndidi from Abuja.
Are you done? Okay, well, some of the questions, have already been answered. George Amagu, you're asking, many villagers are not computer literate, including their teachers, and you want to know why WAEC, JAM, and NECO management can't provide paper exam for such students. They've already explained. For now, it's going to be hybrid. There'll be PAP, which is pen and paper exam, as well as the computer-based examinations. I hope I'm correct. Yes. Now, Peter Moses from Gwagwalada, that's Federal Capital Territory, said, my question is, what happens to chemistry practical that you carry out in the lab? Are you going to the lab with the computer to report your results, or go back to the CBE center? Don't you think there'll be malpractice in the process? Again, Nyenre had asked. I know you, Prof. and Doctor, you've also provided answers to that question, but maybe again, for emphasis, you would like to do that very succinctly. But the last one is from Theophilus from Port Harcourt. And he says, I think it would be best to first provide a system that works in every school. Schools don't even have computers yet, and you are talking about CBE. Okay, let's quickly again recap the question from Peter Moses from Gwagwalada about the practicals, how you're going to conduct the practicals, vis-a-vis the CBE.
Okay, before I talk about that, let me quickly mention about this power challenge that we have, almost everybody is happy about. We have conducted, and for the centers we choose, you have to have multiple sources of power, and we have not encountered any challenge with that. I know that the issue could still be for the rural areas, but I'm sure we could still have more than one power source even in the rural areas. So coming back to the practical questions being assessed computer-wise, the way we have taken for now is that the questions are beamed on the computer, and the candidates will go on the table, on the desk, and perform the practical. It's only the result that is now transferred on the answer booklet. Meanwhile, the performance art and the orals are still being conducted in the traditional way. So at the moment...
Isn't that going to be confused? I mean, it's confusing for the students. I mean, you check your question just as I'm watching the camera, and then you now come back, you perform the experiment, you now use your answer booklet, and then you start writing. And then the next question, you go to the computer, you go perform.
It's the same. Even if the question is on the paper, you look at the question, you will do the practical, and you will record. It's the same.
No, it's not. Haniel.
It depends on the size of the hall.
Let me also point out that we expect schools to provide each set of the specimens and apparatus to candidates. So each candidate is expected to have a set of this equipment.
Yeah, but
we're not talking of lumped equipment.
Now it's center. Is the center going to bear that responsibility?
No, but he already said that they'll fall back to their schools.
They'll fall back to their
okay, all right.
schools.
So it's just the objective that you have to go to the computer centers, right?
In the short run, yes.
They've already taken a stand when it has to do with how the exams would be conducted, when it has to do with practicals. But I know that there are virtual labs where exams can also be conducted on virtual labs. So all the experimental...
You see, when you talk of virtual lab, will you be able to test psychomotors online? The market, the public wants a real assessment of physical skills, not virtual skills. No,
I mean virtual lab where you would be able to mix, you can actually take some chemicals, taking cue from the chemistry, you can actually take some chemicals and mix them together virtually, and you'll be seeing as it is mixing, and you'll be seeing the results and everything. It's virtual. That's called virtual lab.
There are certain skills that you actually have to do them physically.
Yeah, I'm
That
not-
is what
Daniel,
the public
that's
is
a bit too
interested in.
complicated, what you're talking about, this virtual lab
Yes,
thing.
and it will require another set of education.
But, sir,
for I'm
Dr.
coming. Just a minute.
Yeah.
If you want to draw a graph now on the computer, it's possible.
Yeah.
But you have to have the skills.
That's why the
So-
digital literacy skills
So
come
we
to
are
play.
talking about where we are now and what we can do.
Tell us the content. You had started this pilot with some private schools that you believe have the facilities since 2024. Just just give us an insight. We are coasting home now. Give us an insight. What did you find? What were the challenges?
You see, like I said, we did private candidate examinations for the past 1.5 years. This ongoing exam is the one we have involved school candidates. Now, we have done it, and the challenge we have is securing or the cost of the CBE halls. You find that it is almost 50% of what candidates pay. The charges are so exorbitant. That is the major one. Like I said, we didn't have challenge with power because we ensured that the centers we use have more than one power source. The proctors, the supervisors, were mostly staff. The few supervisors that came in were trained. And I can also recall, yes, there was a time we had an interruption of internet in Maiduguri. But fortunately, it did not last for more than 20 minutes. In fact, we were making arrangements to really have a solution. Like I said, I don't want to expose some of the way we will solve our problems. So in fact, the solution was on its way to mitigate about that network interruption. But fortunately, the service was...
Doctor, I hope that you also intend to change the way registration is done for WAEC and also for you, Prof. Neko. Because, you know, JAM takes their registration a bit higher. I mean, trying to get BVN and all, just so that mercenaries don't come in to write exams for these people. Now you're going to be using exposed centers. You know, in the past, WAEC and ECHO were in schools, right? So, I mean, you have to go with your uniform, you're registered in the school and all of that. All of that served as a security. But now you're going to a computer center. If it's still this normal registration procedure, how do you verify that the person coming in is actually the registered candidate? I mean, mercenaries, I don't know, I'm trying to think like a criminal.
Now you should be arrested. You two should be arrested.
You see, it's still the normal practice. It's still the normal measures we have in place. You can't write examination without getting into the hall. So you must also register your biometrics. So there are ways you ensure that, yes, candidates that register for the examination are the same candidate that gets into the examination hall. You also, for NECO, we have biometric machine that we use before you enter the hall. We confirm you are the candidate that registered, and you get in. Even if you are in the hall writing your examination, your examination card, for example, okay, carries your biometrics. So with your Android phone, we have a barcode on it that you scan, and it gives you all the biometric data of the candidate, including the photograph of the candidate.
I know.
Haniel is smiling.
Yes, I know INEC has been having... Yes,
so there are
us.
also other measures that we also use to...
There's what's called 3D printers. 3D printers enable you to print anything from the face of somebody that I can wear that make me look like the person. That's one. There is also fingerprint duplicates that all I need to do is to have the person's fingerprint on my thumb, and I can bypass that security. Then with the 3D printer, I'm wearing the person's face. So those two alone have been able to mitigate that, and students wouldn't mind going that length to get these things.
Anya, you should be arrested after this program.
Let me add
These
here.
are vital information you're giving to them, so that, to enable them, I mean, prepare. You have to really do your homework very well as you step into this new phase of exam assessment. But again, I'm just wondering, in terms of objective, the reason why we are migrating. Exam malpractice, it's not, of course, just cheating on the paper. It's complicated. I know you talked about the reduction in the rate of malpractice, even PAP, during PAP, and the CBE you conducted, a reduction, drastic reduction, and that's the reason why you are further expanding the horizon. But Haniel, does the data generated from just a minute or a very small population, will it justify the reason why they are now expanding the horizon for CBE?
Well, when it has to do with CBE, for me, I'm 100% in support, and the reason is because I'm more of a futuristic person than living in the past. The world is going digital, so that it is just one that the numbers of the data that they have been able to generate it just from few persons really doesn't mean that we should not advance. That is progress. That we are going that route, it means that we are advancing and we are progressing. So why the data is important, and moreover, the data, what we'll do is to juxtapose the data, the quantity of the data, the size of the data, with those that were in support and those that were not in support. So if you would always have those in support, and from the feedback we've gotten from those that are sending SMS, bulk of them, over 60-70% of them are in support, and they think the initiative is a laudable one. So I don't see us not going further with this. I believe.
So you believe the whole content or category of exam malpractice, whatever that entails, would be reduced even further or drastically with the migration to CBE?
Yes, it will be reduced, but it just means that it will bring new form of malpractices that we don't know now until when we begin to. Yeah, so, it will be reduced, but that's a fact. Everything that has an advantage comes with its own disadvantages. So all you need to do is to maximize the advantages that come with that solution and minimize the disadvantages that come with it.
Yes. You see, from the SMS we're having, it's obvious that even your candidates, both NECO and WAEC, are probably not very aware of all this, because the questions keep coming. Amotewa Adewale from Kitukukpa local government in Ondo State says, how are we going to go about easy essay writing? Also map reading aspects in geography, because I understand the computer will be on countdown time. You see? So
I actually want to talk about the map thing, because I know that for geography there's this extra sheet that comes with the whole map that you have to, all of that. But I have another question here. This one says, what about drawing in biology in CBE? How can that be done? Nehemiah Atu from Jos says this. This one says CBE is a good initiative as it will reduce exam malpractices, expose students to the use of computer, and reduce the cost of printing. Honorable Aderunke Aro from Kogi State. All right.
Let me add something that we have not seen. It enhances learning and assessment. The computer-based exams that we did, all of them had superior performances than the PAP. That's another plus that we must see.
And that's because you use the schools, private schools who already have these facilities, and the children were already exposed to such things.
For private candidates, it's an all-commerce affair, both from private and public schools. Those who didn't even go through formal schools.
Fine. What's the awareness? Let's quickly talk about the awareness, among students about this migration. What are you doing to sensitize them?
Well, thank God this is one form of the sensitization. And we have held workshops, seminars with schools through their representatives, the principals and teachers. We have educated them. We have taken them through some aspects of the digitization we are onto, including what we call, well, let me not take us into that aspect because another innovation. So we are doing a lot of sensitization in the schools with parents, and we use the media, both digital and the analog media.
All
Okay,
right.
let's
The same thing. We have offices across the states and zones, and we have state coordinators in every state. So for NECO, almost every state of the federation, we've held a sensitization of stakeholders about the migration to CBT in the last 2 months.
Honey, last word from you. 30 seconds.
We have done that to some extent.
Okay, so I just want to reiterate on the need for both WIC and NECO to prioritize digital skills. And the reason is because all the questions that have been asked, how are we going to do the geography mapping, are you going to, all these things are integrated into digital literacy. So once you've been able to attend to English, maths, digital literacy should be the next most important subject that we should prioritize in ensuring that our students are able to get. And once they're able to get this, all these questions won't arise because all the knowledge are already embedded inside that skill.
Fantastic. But I'll ask you again, digital literacy cannot be taught on paper. All right. So let's appreciate our guests. Many thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate you, Professor Dantani Ibrahim Wushishi, Registrar, Chief Executive Officer, National Examination Council. It was a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure.
And good that I had to ask you questions today. Dr. Amos Zosiah Dangut, Head of National Office, WAEC. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, Haniel Jafaru, ICT expert, and of course, an expert who thinks like a criminal. Many thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
It only means he knows his job and he does his job well.
Very well.
All right, that's Good Morning Nigeria for this Tuesday. We thank you for joining us, and I hope you have found our conversation today worth your while. I am Claire Adilabu Abdulrazak.
And I'm Yanri John, live locked on the NTA. Have a great day.